Week 2. So for this week's painting, I really wanted to explore Impressionist techniques in a way that felt personal, expressive and meaningful to me, and create something that actually connects to who I am and what I value. I ended up choosing to paint a cross, and I did it in a style inspired by Van Gogh. I did consider going in a different direction at first and create something more inspired by Monet, because I really do like his softer, more atmospheric approach, but in the end Van Gogh's style just felt more like me. There's something about the movement and the energy and the emotion in his work that I connect to, and it feels raw and expressive, and I wanted my painting to have some of that intensity. Also, on a more personal level, Van Gogh's work has always kind of been around me growing up. My mum absolutely loves Starry Night, and she talks about it all the time and how beautiful it is and how calming it feels. I've actually painted her my own version of the Starry Night for her as a gift, and the process made me realise how much I genuinely enjoy working in that style. So choosing to base my painting on his techniques was easy, and it was tied to memory, family, and something that already meant something to me. So the subject of my painting is the cross, and that choice was very intentional. I went to Catholic school for 13 years, so Christianity and specifically Catholic teachings have always been a really consistent part of my life. I've completed many of my sacraments, and those experiences have shaped a lot of how I see the world. Even if I don't always actively think about it, those values are kind of embedded in how I make decisions, treat people, and understand right from wrong. So the cross wasn't just a random symbol, it represents something that has always been present in my life. It's tied to my upbringing, my education, and my personal belief system. And it also connects to where I see myself in the future. I'd actually really like to teach art in a Catholic or Christian high school, so this painting kind of reflects both my past and where I'm heading. I didn't want the cross to feel static or lifeless though. I wanted to feel active, emotional, and almost alive within the painting. So that's where the Impressionistic techniques really helped come in. I actually started this task in a rather unconventional way. I started by using the tracing paper and transferring my symbol just like the task description. Once I had my symbol mapped out on my canvas paper, I started mapping the movement I wanted within the painting. So this was quite experimental. I applied modelling paste quite heavily and quickly, using tools and brushes to create movement in the directions I wanted the painting to flow. So instead of thinking about the outlines or the shapes at first, I was thinking about the movement. I was basically mapping out the energy of the painting before I even added any colour. This technique does link strongly to post-impressionism, especially artists like Van Gogh, where the brushstrokes themselves carry meaning. They're not just there to fill the space, they guide the viewer's eye, just like I've done creating movement around the cross to guide the viewer's eye to the focal point. By using the paste this way, I was able to physically build the movement into the surface of the painting, so later when I applied paint, the texture underneath naturally guided my brush strokes. It helped me maintain consistency in direction and flow, rather than just randomly placing the strokes. Once I had the movement mapped out, I added a base layer of colour across the canvas, which was mainly so I wasn't working on a blank white background, which can sometimes feel intimidating and flat to me. So having that colour already there made it easier to build the depth and variation with my brush strokes. Movement is probably one of the most important elements in my painting. The background is designed so that all the motion circulates around the cross. This was very intentional because I wanted the cross to be a focal point, the most important part of the composition. So the idea of the directional movement is something that's really characteristic to the post-impressionist impressionist work. It's not about realism, it's about expressing emotion and guiding the viewer's experience. When I was mapping out the movement early on, I made sure to think carefully about where I wanted the viewer's eye to go The swirls and the patterns in the background aren't accidental, they're designed to reinforce the importance. A major technique I used throughout the painting was short layered brushstrokes, which is very inspired by Van Gogh, and something I found in the technique section of how to get my paintings similar. Instead of blending colours smoothly, I applied the paint in small distinct strokes. These strokes follow the direction of the movement I'd already mapped out, which helps maintain that sense of flow and energy. I also applied the paint quite thickly, often in rolling or almost circular motion. This adds texture and makes the surface of the painting feel a bit more dynamic. You can actually see and feel the layers, which gives it more depth and physical presence. One really important thing is that brushstrokes aren't random. Even though they might look expressive or spontaneous, they're actually very controlled. Each stroke follows the shape and direction of the movement in the composition. Another technique I used was broken colour. Instead of mixing the colours completely before applying them, I often place different colours next to each other directly on the canvas. For example, instead of blending blue and yellow to make green, I placed some of the strokes of blue and yellow side by side. From a distance, the eye blends these colours together, but up close you can see the individual strokes. This creates a more vibrant and lively effect compared to the fully blended colour. The cross itself, in contrast to the background, the cross is a bit more structured, but it still uses the same expressive techniques. I use strong, darker tones for the wood to give it a sense of solidness and importance. The brushstrokes still follow the same form of the cross, which helps it feel integrated with the rest of the painting, rather than separate. The white cloth draped over the cross adds another layer of meaning. It creates contrast against the darker wood and busy background, which helps draw attention to it. It also symbolises purity, peace, and resurrection, which are important themes in Christianity. Even in the cloth, I used layered brushstrokes and variation in colour, like blues and greys within the white, to keep it consistent with the overall style. Overall, the painting is a combination of technical exploration and personal meaning. Through the use of impressionistic techniques like the thick paint application, directional brushstrokes, broken colours, expressive movement, I was able to create something that feels emotional rather than flat or purely representational. I think I've learned through the process that technique and meaning really work best when they support each other. The expressive style of the painting enhances the emotional significance of the symbol, and the symbol itself gives purpose to the techniques I've used.